Welcome to the New Mom Talk podcast, your go-to podcast for evidence-based answers to your burning questions about parenting. Join us as we dive into commonly Googled topics and hear from experts and real moms. Let's navigate parenthood together, one question at a time. Hi, everyone. Today we're going to talk about mental health birth planning. I'm really excited to have Maya to share a little bit about what this is. We are very familiar with birth planning. We all know what that is, but the mental health piece, I've never heard of that. So I'm really excited to pick your brain on this. So I'm going to hand it over to you, Maya, if you can tell us about yourself and what you do.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Maya. I'm a mental health counselor. And also currently I'm a PhD student. I'm studying evidence-based care for NICU moms. Because personally, I am a NICU mom. Both my babies were in the NICU and it wasn't very long, but it was life-changing for me. And so I want to make sure that all moms, but especially NICU moms, get the care and support they need in the hospital. And I'm also director of development and a guest educator for a practice called Moms Supported. And we focus on community care and providing workshops, educational opportunities for caretaking professionals and moms to have evidence-based information at their fingertips, like over virtually, so that you can, while you're wrangling your kids and all that, or between sessions, you can log in and get some really great information about how to take care of not just your heart, your mind, but your soul. I'm really about making sure that we take care of the whole person. It's all about embodiment, story, choice, and voice, which is all about making sure you feel safe in your body and that you don't feel so disconnected, because we tend to get really disconnected from our mind and our like lived in experience of what our body is telling us and what we're feeling. Making sure that we feel connected to our story, who we are, not just who we are now, but like every version of ourselves, and making sure that we're able to share our story and
Wow,
have that
I love
autonomy
all
that we
of
need to
that.
really thrive.
Well, I'm really excited to pick your brain on this because it sounds like a lot of this was kind of a mission from like a personal standpoint, being that you were a NICU mom. So with that, I kind of
Yes.
said this already. We focus a lot on the birth planning. We all have, well, many of us have a birth plan when it comes to, having our babies. So that said, what role should mental health play in the birth plan aside from just the physical part?
Yeah, definitely. Of course, physically, you go through this huge transformation, but your nervous system gets a hit too, and your sense of identity. All of those things, whether it's your first kid, your second kid, however many kids, like it changes the way that you navigate your world. It changes your whole view of what life means, essentially, because you are bringing in this fragile being into this fragile world that can be really scary at times, and so it can be really overwhelming. And a lot of times, I'll say, kind of personally, the first time I gave birth, was, was trained as a mental health professional, but it didn't hit me until afterwards how it like cracked me open, and I felt kind of connected to myself, but also felt like a completely new person. And like I had this little baby to take care of, and like hormones were raging, and like she was in the NICU. It was hard to be able to hold her. Everything hit me like a ton of bricks. And so I recognize, even with the training of like, I know how to make a safety plan. I know all the coping skills, all of that. I still felt unprepared. And so after that, I got a lot of perinatal mental health training and was really focused on making sure, because not very soon after, we ended up I have Irish twins. So like wasn't expecting it, but our beautiful surprise baby, our second one, Adrian, I found I was pregnant with him, and I felt really focused on this time. I want to make sure, not just for me, but for others, that I can create some kind of mental health birth plan to make sure that I don't feel so lost. And that included so much journaling, self-reflection, working with a mental health professional myself, because we don't know what we don't know all the times, like kind of going through everything that I felt physically, emotionally, spiritually, and getting concrete resources. Postpartum Support International is a really great place to go for. They actually have this helpline. It's called TLC Mama, where you can call it for non-emergencies. Just if you're feeling really overwhelmed one day, you can call them. And so the big pillars of mental health support is emotional regulation. We want to make sure that you have tools for emotional regulation. What that looks like is, I always like to focus on your senses. So what are you doing? Or are you kind of bringing some smells that are really soothing for you so that you can reground and reconnect to the present moment? What are you going to be looking at? Do you want to bring your ultrasounds to look at while you're giving birth so that you can feel grounded, remember what you're there for. Even a picture of your younger self, because I don't know about you, but when I was giving birth, had a lot of positive, but also sometimes negative thoughts about like your body and like everything, and like, can I do this? Like uncertainty, but like a younger version of yourself, you can remember to start talking to that younger version of yourself too, because that you're still connected to that person and you can be kind and compassionate rather than feeling disconnected and feeling overwhelmed with fear or like overwhelmed anyway with any emotion that's coming up essentially. So, and then what are you listening to? A very good tip is to make sure that you make a playlist of music, because our bodies and our brains are so connected rhythmically, and it's important to, like, for me, what I did my second time was make a playlist of songs that connected me to my younger self, like, that made me think of, like, the mom that I want to be, the mom that, I'm going to be, like, kind of some compassionate songs to kind of remind myself that you don't have to be perfect. Think about songs that you would like and picture jamming out to with your kids, like all of those types of things. There's so many things that you can do, but overall, the mental health birth plan is all about making sure that you're putting yourself in a mindset of compassion, of openness, and of flexibility, because you never know what's going to happen. We can assume that it's no matter what, it's going to be life changing. So, how are you going to gently usher yourself in? What are going to be the internal and external resources? So, like I said, checking in with your senses, making sure the environment um, is as calming or as like is warm if you get cold, like and making sure you're asking for help. And I definitely recommend talking through this with it doesn't have to be a therapist. It can be a friend or anyone that's kind of gone through it, just to make sure you have it in writing, because when you're about to give birth is not the time, just like with birth planning, it's not the time to go ahead and say, oh, we're on the way to the hospital now. Well, let me think of all the things that might make me feel more comfortable.
I know you mentioned a lot of different things that they could bring to help with that during labor and delivery. That said, what are like the common mental health considerations that expecting parents should really think about before going into that? And I say parents because it's not only going to impact mom, it can also impact the
Yes.
partner.
It's both. Yeah, definitely boundaries. Who do you want there and what do you want? Because people are going to try to push against your boundaries. So you need to figure out, like, what are you comfortable with and what are you not comfortable with? Write that down. Keep that somewhere that you can see it. Whoever the partner is that you have with you, make sure that they know it so they can advocate for you. Make sure the nurses know it too, because they can advocate for you too. Like, make sure that you are not leaving anything to chance, because like grandparents, aunts, uncles, whoever they are, they're going to be thinking about them and not about you. And they're going to be thinking about the baby and not necessarily about you. So it's important for you to prioritize what are your needs going to be, because that's something really sad that a lot of times moms, parents in general feel pretty lonely because it becomes all about the baby, right? And no one's there. No one's going to know what you need unless you make it known. And so I'm all about just making the unknown known. And the ones that mind don't matter and the ones that matter don't mind. You have to say no one can hold the baby afterwards, or you don't want people in the hospital, if they are upset by that, it's just a moment. There's going to be some discomfort, and then there's always repair at the end. But yeah, biggest thing is boundaries and identifying your needs. Um, and that takes some self reflection, because, especially as women, we're not really used to identifying our needs and advocating for them. It's so important to be aware of your mental needs just as much as your physical needs, right? And so what does that look like? It looks like, how do you want people to speak to you on that day? What does encouragement look like? I think that's one big thing. There's a DBT skill, Improve the Moment, which focuses on imagery, pausing, and kind of connecting spiritually. R is for relaxation. So we kind of talked about that of can you find some meditation or some breathing exercises that your partner can do with you, that guys can do together. Can you focus on one thing at a time, whether it be, I'm just going to focus on packing right now. I'm just going to focus on breathing right now. I'm just going to focus on on looking at a picture, just kind of making it less complicated, or even just kind of taking a mini vacation from the moment, just hitting a pause button and saying like, hey, I'm going to take a break. Like, especially if you're in the hospital room and you just kind of need to take a walk somewhere, or if like you need to, or if you're at home and you need to take a walk, or just go into a separate room for 1 second and then come back. And then, like I said, the last part is encouragement. How are you talking to yourself? A lot of times there's this really great book called Real Self-Care. I'm forgetting the name of who wrote it, but she talks about real self-care. It's about, what do you feel like you crave from other people? And that's what you need to provide for yourself. What are you craving? Is that craving feeling valued, feeling seen? Is it craving some encouragement? Like I said, craving being taken care of. Everyone, it's all up to you to kind of do that self-reflection to know, what do you feel like is missing? Sometimes that goes back to, your childhood. That goes back to, what are some ways that you feel like you were yearning for support, yearning for guidance, or yearning for whatever you feel like. We tend to kind of plug that hole of vulnerability. But when you're giving birth and in the early stages of motherhood, when you are, or parenting, when you don't sleep, that hole is unplugged. Everything is overflowing. So maybe those things that you normally brush underneath the rug, we need to find some time, like through meditation, through journaling, to let those thoughts out before we're in the thick of it, so that you can figure out, how am I going to make these needs get met, with whether that be movement. Who's going to be your accountability partner if you're going to go on a walk? Do you have mom friends? That's a really big thing. And if you don't, Facebook is the amazing place to go. Just saying like, I'm expecting at this time, like I know where I live, there's like a wherever you live and then mom's group. And so everyone can connect, and like there's people who make a play date group. And especially before you give birth, because it's crazy after you kind of give birth. If there isn't a play date group or like a mom group, then you can start one, or kind of ask your friends to kind of start one, so that you don't have to do this alone. Because that isolation piece is the biggest threat to success. Especially first time moms, I feel like you want to do everything yourself. You want to solve all the problems and you want to kind of have control, but motherhood teaches you can't be in control. You have to let go, and you have to figure out what that's going to look like in safe ways. Who are going to be your circle? Like I like to call it my Fab Five. Are there 5 people that you can call no matter what? So, and you pick 5 because most likely, like one of them might not answer, but then you just go and call the next one. Who are your Fab 5 that you're going to call if you need either to be distracted, or to be encouraged, or to be uplifted? Those are kind of the 3 pillars of what we sometimes need other people to help us with when we're kind of stuck in the thick of it.
Hi everyone, it's your host Mariella. I want to thank you for listening and share some ways to show your continued support. You can rate and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Share the show with friends and family. Buy me a coffee to help with the financial costs of running a podcast. Follow me on Instagram at newmomtalk.podcast. And finally, subscribe to my newsletter. Thank you for listening. You had mentioned nurses, so I wanted to talk about the healthcare providers, since they're part of the team, and how they can help with screening and support with mental health during the pregnancy, birth, and postpartum stage. I say postpartum, even though you probably only see them 1 to 2 times, but how can they help support that?
Yeah, I think there are so many like formal assessments, but at the end of the day, it's taking the time to pause and pay attention to, like, physically, what do you see? Do you see people that are disconnected? Um, do you see a lot of anxiety? Like, asking open-ended questions is really important. We do have formal assessments for depression and anxiety, but at the end of the day, like, a lot of times those self-reports, yeah, people just kind of want to leave. So it's rare that sometimes they answer it honestly, but like the self-report measures don't mean as much as actually kind of meeting eye to eye and saying like, how are you feeling right now? And normalizing the experience of, it's okay to feel really overwhelmed, to feel really lost right now, to feel completely broken in some ways, because you went through this huge experience and now there's no rule book, right? That's okay. And guess what? You're not alone. And like I said, PSI, Postpartum Support International, is a really great resource because there's a directory of mental health professionals that are certified in perinatal mental health care. And they've got free support groups and they've got that TLC Mama line. So healthcare professionals can refer people to that. And they can refer people to Motherhood Supported as well, which we're creating. So in 2026, especially, we're creating so many different resources for community care kind of groups and education for caretakers and for moms. So the best thing that a care professional can do is see the human and not just a number.
So you did mention, the assessments, I'll call them assessments that we take at your postpartum visit or your pediatrician's appointments. But obviously that's like not enough to really help you or support you, whether you do have depression or anxiety, which I personally have not taken an anxiety one when I've been in the office. But with that, then what are some proactive steps that parents can take to prepare for the possibility of postpartum or anxiety disorders?
Yes. I like to always start with the environment. How is the environment set up to make you successful? And that is soothing music, a diffuser, like things like that, that can, like, again, tap into your senses. What are you listening to? What are you seeing? Who is around you? There's a concept called emotional contagion. So if someone comes in and they're high stress, then that emotion's going to hop around the room, right? Unless we have really, really strong emotional regulation skills to make sure that it doesn't stick. So try to be mindful if you do have, because most parents probably have a parent that is a little high strung, and that's okay because they're just worried and they want to help. So make sure that you're planning what skills are you going to use before, during, and after a visit with that family member. Deep breathing. Again, meditation is really helpful. Making sure that things are organized and kind of referring, it kind of works with your birth plan because and postpartum plan of easy is it for you to get diapers? How easy is it for you to grab wipes? Easy is it to make bottles? Like making sure everything is intuitive. And again, the biggest thing is asking for help. Can you ask for help? And call those people to you that are willing and ready to help for you. And I think that the last thing I would say is when it comes to partners, just making sure that you guys know that you're a team. Sometimes it can be really hard because you're different people, you had different childhoods, but before you go into the birth process, make sure that you have a conversation about how you're going to be on the same page and going to be a united front because people are going to, again, push against those boundaries. And it's up to you guys to make sure that you talk through mental, spiritual, emotional needs that you both have and how you're going to work together to support each other. And that you guys each know that you're Fab Five. So if you notice that your partner is really overwhelmed or sleep deprived and having a lot of rage, that you can call their support people and kind of create a plan of what does support look like? How do we ask for help for each other if we can't hold that ourselves?
So, sticking with that, I want to jump over to the birth plan, the mental health birth plan. Would you be able to list the top 5 things that should be included or considered when coming up with their birth plan and their mental health?
Yes. So, like I said, first, boundaries. Boundaries are important.
I
What
love that.
boundaries are you setting with with yourself and with others? How are you communicating those boundaries? When are you communicating those boundaries? And how are you reinforcing those boundaries? Because it's easy to set boundaries, but reinforcing them is really hard because it's really uncomfortable. And what helps with that is making sure that you have a why. Why is it important to set boundaries? And then you can come back to that when people are pushing against your boundaries. 2 is self care. What does self care look like? And again, that goes back to, what do you crave? Do you crave being closeness and comfort, being heard, being seen? Think about um, intellectually, what are some things that you can do to take care of, to journal or to stimulate yourself? What are books and what are music that you're listening to? And when it comes to balancing your nervous system, creativity. What is something you can do to be creative? That could be planning your meals. That could be painting, drawing. That could be bullet journaling. I'm obsessed with bullet journaling right now. Journaling, it kind of helps with, um, uh, you can also kind of use it as a creative way to track your emotions, track your plans. And like I said, it's open. There's something about creativity that really opens you up. Like shamans used to ask people when they're depressed and anxious, when did you stop dancing? When did you stop singing? When did you stop telling stories? When did you start feeling uncomfortable in silence? So any of those things can be part of your self-care plan to assess if you have what you need. How are you moving your body? Before baby, like, can you dance around the hospital room to kind of reset your nervous system? Can you sing your favorite song? Can you sit in silence? Is that something that's comfortable for you? Who are you talking to? Can you tell your story and connect to your story as before, during, and after birth? And then just communication. Communication is so important. Like I said, kind of engaging your senses. All senses are so important. Make sure that you have the tools that will set your nervous system in a comfy place. Bring something from home. Don't just focus on buying the baby things that they need. Make sure that you're getting the parents things that they need to feel supported and feel comforted too. Because at the end of the day, you're going to be ignored for the baby. The baby's going to be what everyone comes to check on. How can you communicate with people and say, like, hey, I need you to check on me first before you go to the baby? Know who you can ask that from. And that'll just help open you up to get the care and support that you need. No one can know unless you say what you need. Yeah. So I guess that wasn't really 5. It was kind of 5. So boundaries, movement, music, like communication, and meditation. I think meditation is super important. So like those, I feel like those are the top 5, making sure that you're setting, you're strict on protecting your space and your energy, making sure that you have plans to move your body in ways that feel safe and feel comfortable, making sure that you have time for joy, dancing, and just wrapping it up, just making sure that you surround yourself, front load yourself with things that are going to be fulfilling and regenerative for your spirit. Go ahead. Mhm.
Well, my last question, we just have a few seconds left, so I wanted to give you the opportunity to give any final thoughts, recommendations, suggestions. I will have all of your information in the show notes. So if anyone wants to reach out or contact you, all of that will be linked in the show notes.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just to remember that when it comes to being a parent and when it comes to taking care of your mental health, just know that all the things that you need are within you. It's just all the science talk and all the mental health talk, like it helps to reveal the truth of what you need. A lot of times people go to mental health support to be fixed, but you don't need to be fixed. You have everything that you need to take care of this beautiful little baby and to be the mom or dad or a parent that you want to be. It just takes self-trust, and that's what community helps you to do, is to really love, respect, and trust yourself. And if you want to learn more about just especially the creative modalities that you can use to take care of yourself, we are doing a workshop really soon. Well, it's in May, but we are going to be posting on socials and all of that, just different tips and tricks to help with emotional regulation and help with taking care of yourself in realistic ways. So I'm very passionate about this, and I'm really excited and grateful to be here just to share a little piece of what I do.
Thank you so much. It was so nice chatting with you about this and just a topic that I feel like isn't really thought of when it comes to birth planning.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate you. And yeah, feel free to reach out if you guys have any questions or need anything. I'm here to help. And yeah, I'm so grateful. My biggest thing is just to make sure that everyone knows that you have everything that you need. We just need help uncovering the tools.
Thank you for listening. Tune in next week for our next episode. You can find us on Instagram for more updates and tips. Be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts and give us a review if you like us.